welcome to Sammy C Press. Today I want to answer a question that I've received a lot. What advice do you have for homeschooling? When I'm asked that question, instantly so much information floods into my brain. Wonderful things that I truly love doing and implementing, and other things that I wish I would have known before I started. One key thing is to make sure that you do your research. Every state is different. Some states do not even allow homeschooling. And even within that state, there are requirements, regulations, and laws. And then the counties can be slightly different. So make sure you do your research. Tip number 1, know your child's learning environment. Stimuli from our environment can affect how much we're able to comprehend as well as retain. So pay attention when your child is in their zone, just kind of relaxing and chilling. Are they on the floor? Are they on the couch? What's the temperature of the room? Do they have a blanket or a glass of water with them? Are they in front of natural light, or do they like artificial lighting? Asking yourself these questions and really paying attention to the environment in which your child feels most comfortable will help them to be able to assimilate information even more readily. An important thing to remember is that no two people are the same. Sammy C number 1, for example, loved to sit at his desk with a lamp, with a pile of books, and a glass of water. While Sammy C number 3 loved to be either on the couch or on the floor with a blanket with natural lighting without a stack of books. And even when it comes to me, I'm completely different. So think about yourself. You'll notice that you have preferences, and you'll even notice if some of your productivity is a little better when you listen to those preferences. Tip number 2, know your child's learning style. This is crucial, and it can make all the difference. Some examples are visual learners. These are children who learn best when they're able to see the information. Pictures with instructions or video tutorials. These are amazing tools for these types of learners. Another example is auditory learners. These are children who learn best from listening to information. And today there are so many resources for auditory learners, such as podcasts, lectures, speeches, etc. Talking about what they're learning is also a way that helps them to further process and comprehend. Next example is kinesthetic learners. These are children who learn best by experiencing hands-on kind of training, being able to be physically active. They love puzzles and games, which are helpful for their learning style. Another example is interpersonal or social learners. These are learners who love to be in groups and enjoy talking things out. And this actually helps to support their concentration. I knew I'd get it. Concentration, unlike those who love to learn solo. Another is logical learners. These are children who enjoy solving puzzles. They are systematic and logical thinkers. They like to look for connections and patterns and causes. Since they enjoy problem solving, you can have them be a detective to solve problems and other activities that activate that problem-solving skill they so naturally have and love to use. Tip number 3, allow interest-led learning whenever you can. I cannot say this enough. Think about yourself. How much more engaged and excited and interested are you in pursuing a hobby or an interest that you are eager to learn, as opposed to doing something that you're not so interested in? That excitement and that joy is not going to be there. And that is the same for our children. Our children are experiencing the world and learning things for the first time. And we want to keep that love for learning and excitement alive. And a way we can do that is by allowing them to lead the way. For example, let's say your child is really interested in bats. Do a unit study on bats. You would simply go to the library, pick out 10 to 15 books on bats, and for the next 3 weeks or so, that would be your focus. And this can overlap in other subjects. You can write reports about it, learn the history of bats, where they live, geography, do arts and crafts, and so much more. There's nothing more enjoyable than seeing your child's face light up with intrigue and excitement about learning. This will ensure that their lights stay on. Obviously, We're not going to be able to do this with every subject because there's going to be certain subjects that your children are not fond of, and that's okay. Much like life, some of us don't like washing dishes or taking the trash out, but there's still things we have to do. Tip number 4, relax and allow for breaks. Different types of learners may need more brain breaks than others, but it's totally okay. If you need to take 10 to 15 minute break every hour or so to allow a little refreshment and maybe even to lower the frustration level if a child is struggling in certain areas, sometimes even taking a break on a larger scale, like a day or even a week off. Sometimes we simply need a mental health day. Give yourself permission for these things and know that it's okay. You can spend a day on a nature trail and still learn much about nature. You could take a fun trip to the library, unlocking doors and adventures of intrigue. These are all still very important parts of life and learning. Tip number 5, remember that your child is enrolled in the school of life. More is needed than book knowledge. Even a young child, someone as young as a little toddler, can take their dishes to the dishwasher. Making sure your child has age-appropriate chores will help them to feel confident and responsible. And as they grow, give them more responsibilities that match their age. Teaching your children how to cook, manage money, and keep the house clean as well as themselves is an essential part of having a happy and successful life. Tip number 6, be gentle with yourself and with your child. You are qualified. You are their parent, and you know your child best. And remember that learning takes time, and sometimes a child may be frustrated with the learning process, especially if there is something they're struggling with. As parents, we do not want to add to the frustration, so keep your frustration in check, take a deep breath, and remember that your child will get it, but it may take a little more time. Tip number 7, don't be afraid to switch it up. If you're using a curriculum that's just not working, don't just push through. That will not be beneficial for you or your child. There are a lot of curriculums out there that make promises and guarantees that no one should be trying to make. So use caution. Here at Sammy C Press, all 3 of us are dyslexics, and we use programs that worked for that. We chose the Orton-Gillingham method, and they have been successful and around for years and years and years. So be sure that whatever you choose, do your research and be careful. Tip number 8, be sure you're not homeschooling in the same fashion as traditional school. Homeschool days are a lot shorter than traditional school days. There's a lot of one-on-one instruction, so that cuts the time dramatically. Also remember that your child may be at a different grade level in one subject and a different one in the other. For example, Sammy C number 3 was in a reading level of grade 3, but his science was in 9th grade. This is when he was in 4th grade. So sometimes there may be a big gap between grade levels, but that gap will close as they continue to mature and to grow. Tip number 9, focus on strength and support weakness. Nothing tears down a person more than having their weaknesses constantly put in front of them. As teachers and parents, we want to build our children up. And in doing so, we want to help them to focus on their strengths. But at the same time, we want to support the weakness. If someone has a difficulty walking, for example, they don't simply stop walking. They use accommodations, braces or crutches or wheelchairs. It's the same thing with someone learning. Even if there's a struggle, there's an appropriate accommodation that can support that person. For example, a child with dyslexia may have a weakness with rote memory. So the accommodation would be to have a multiplication table there in front of them, or an alphabet chart. This is not a handicap. It will help the child in a tremendous way. I want to add this little piece in tip number 9. Forcing someone to push through a weakness is not going to help them. I'm going to give you an example. So Sammy C number 2 he really struggled with being able to think and write out his thoughts. So I was thinking dysgraphia because I have dysgraphia. So I took him to get tested, and they said that he had a learning difference in written expression, which I think is pretty similar to dysgraphia. But anyway, the comment that really upset me was she said he had this because I did not make him write enough. Now, that statement was unfounded because she didn't even ask how much he was writing, what curriculum he was doing, or any of those things. But I'm going to tell you what I did. After that, I cut his writing in half because he was doing a lot of writing, and it was a struggle, and he was frustrated, and it was not fun for him, and it was not fun for me to watch. So I found a program, Write Shop, which I really, really like. I am not affiliated in any way, where he would do dictation and I would do the writing, and then he would do the editing, and then he would write out the work afterwards. And I also made sure he kept up with his handwriting, workbook and things like that. So he was still doing writing, but like I said, it was cut in half. And let me tell you, because of that, within 3 years, the boy absolutely loved to write. He literally has 13 different books right now that he is writing. He loves it so much, and he has such a joy when it comes to writing. Now, if I would have followed that person's advice, do you think he would have still had that same love of writing? I honestly don't think so. I know Sammy C number 2, and I don't think that would have worked. So I just want to throw that out there. Be mindful and be cautious, because focusing on weaknesses can really, really frustrate and kind of drive someone away and shut that door for future possibilities. Okay, tip number 10. Breathe, relax, and enjoy spending these precious moments with your children, because they go by very fast, and these moments are so precious. So, I hope you have enjoyed these tips from Sammy C Press to you. Until next time.